Hey everybody, I wanted to show you guys a really cool antique that I recently got that I'm really excited about. What this is a Scottish field officer's sword. Now these are actually the same as the basket-hilted broadsword blade that they put on an 1828 pattern Scottish officer's sword, but they made a version of it with a saber style hilt, or like a scroll hilt here that's really nice looking for field officers that would be sitting on horseback. So they were infantry officers, they'd be sitting on a horse and they wanted something a little bit more comfortable and lighter than using a full weighted basket hilt. So here you can see my two antiques side by side. So this is the 1828 full weighted, this is a Wilkinson version of it, and this is a Gardner and Argyll from Glasgow. And you can see like the blade shape is real similar. This one's a double fullered version and this is a single, but you can see that there's been a lot of weight taken off of this sword, so it's extremely nimble and a lot thinner versus the full weighted broadsword, which is about 1,200 grams or so. This one just feels incredible in the cut. It's super fast. You can use all your point work, do quick circles with it like nothing. So I could really use all the stuff that I use from like épée, small sword, and all the stuff that I use from saber. So just a little bit of food for thought here. A lot of the time in HEMA you hear that people's sabers or swords in general are way underweight and are kind of unrealistic. But I want to give you a realistic weight. So this is an example of an antique that was used in combat, right? Like it was used by real officers in combat. And this is a Castile 16 millimeters. So this one sometimes gets complained a lot as quite fast. This is actually, they're actually almost exactly the same weight, believe it or not. So this one's 625 grams and this one is 650. And really you can kind of chalk it down to some of the grip components really would make that difference, versus this one has wood, shagreen, and steel back strap. If you added that onto this, they'd be pretty much identical. The point of balance on this one is real close to the hilt here, right? And if you take a look at the other one, it's pretty similar. So again, it's a little bit farther forward for the Castile 16 millimeter. Another little aside is sometimes people have asked me, we do a veteran saber competition at the Highland Games. Does saber really belong in the Scottish Highland Games? And the answer for me is yes. This is a really iconic Scottish weapon that was used by field officers. They definitely use all sorts of sabers and broadswords. Even historically at Highland Games, there's records of saber being used. So one thing I want you guys to think about is always be critical of the things that people are saying. And while it's true that there are certain weights that represent really commonly certain periods in historical fencing, trainers tend to be a little bit lighter anyway. They're a little bit safer, it's easier on your arm. And some of the antiques that were used in combat actually did weigh that amount anyway. So I think for what we do, sometimes we represent a little bit of a broader range rather than just one narrow specific model or specific weight category. This, as well as the full weighted broadsword that I just showed you, could have been used against each other, or probably fighting on the same side, but they were in use at exactly the same time. So the other thing was why I allow using lighter dueling sabers in my broadsword tournaments. I don't think there's a particular advantage to having them. And that's kind of borne out by experience. There's a lot that you get out of this, having the full hand protection as well as a little bit of weight behind the blade. It has a pretty tight point of balance, right? A little bit farther back than this one. What you gain out of this though is like pretty nimble point work, some lighter overall weight, so there's a trade-off. I think these two weapons can be used against one another pretty effectively, even in a fencing context nowadays. Anyway, most of this was just to show off my new sword anyway, so I hope you enjoyed it. I really like it. I'm super excited to have it. I'm glad I finally got one in my collection. I promised my wife I'll stop, but I'm already thinking of other ones I want to get.